as you when we say that sharpening of axe is the story which is very famous and every one of us know that I mean, it's a very famous story. I don't want to repeat this, but still, I just have to say that means that you have to sharpen your axe to perform better. In the same way, when it comes to the online platform, when outcome based is there, we are mostly our teachers and our faculties concentrate on the content matter more. That is the main part that we move away from the outcome base, because we are always thinking about covering the portion more than uncovering what is needed for the child and where we have to concentrate. So as a teacher, I always felt that the faculties, of course, they have to prepare the PowerPoint, as you said, a lot of work is needed. But then when outcome based learning is being encouraged, we have to change the pedagogy. And as a teacher, I personally feel if you are able to understand the 30 students in your classroom, the learning abilities, you have to understand that the pace of learning of every child is different. There is a concept called SMART. That is, you have to be specific, you should have to be measurable, it's an attainable, and it should be the reliable one, and it's be time bound. So this is how we have to base our learning outcomes. We should not I mean, when the teachers do it when in unrealistic way, when it is not specific, we don't reach the outcome and we are not able to assess. And one more thing which I have to make it clear at this here is that assessment can be done and we can reach up to the learning outcome during the course of our our session, our dealing with the child in an online platform also, because in the due course of time, when we have a methodology or pedagogy which we have adopted in our online session, and every step we have assessment, for planning, off planning, and assessment should be formative. Along with your learning, it should happen. We always think from the assessment, we talk about assessment, we always think from the end point of the summative assessment. Actually, assessment can happen among peers, assessment can happen among your group A or group B, or assessment can happen when at every step, and that is through different methodologies or formative things which is done in the sessions, in the class session, and you will be able to understand that what the learning outcome you have planned, if that is with the child or not. If we are not able to get that learning outcome doesn't mean its objective, doesn't mean that is only the session, the content of it, what the value you are giving, what is the attitude we are giving, everything comes under this competency based education. So I remember Swamiji, that is in my of the few classes which I had as a child, as was so enriching that it gives to me an outcome which I even use it now in my everyday situations. If you plan wonderfully well, the planning time is what is needed from the side of a faculty or a teacher, or what you call an inspirer. I usually don't call teachers as teachers, I call them as inspirers, because they are to inspire the learning. You have to teach the child how to learn. It is how how to learn by themselves. That's what we have to use in the pedagogy. That's what I personally feel. Competency based education it's the approach of teaching and learning more often used in learning the concrete skills than abstract learning. I remember, sir, that when you talk about competency based education or learning, it is to ensure that proficiency in learning by students through the demonstration of the knowledge or the skills or the values and attitudes which is required for dealing with real life situation at the age and grade appropriate level. Now, when I talk about this, I'm remembered about an incident in my school life. That is when I was walking back from a meeting today. I was just recollecting to share with us the people, those who are listening to me. I remember as a girl, I'm a child of in the classes of 5 or 6 when I was learning. And I have seen the outskirts of Indian Gaon, or where where there was even now girl is not treated equally with a boy. I have seen that situations. Of course, I was not in a family where it was like that, because my father had a great trust, and I was luckily blessed to have such parents. But wherever we listen, this is not for girl. This profession is not for girl. This is not like that. And even I used to hear to all these things, and there were people who were in my classes who used to discuss about it as a small child. But suddenly I remembered, one day one of my teacher who came to my class, and she had to teach, and that she was a teacher who came as a substitution period, and she was basically a history teacher and also a very good in Hindi. So she asked, क्या next chapter क्या होता है? Then what is the next chapter for? Then we said it is independence struggle. So she asked us, what is that independence struggle all about? We said first war of independence. So she said, who are the leaders? Everybody started telling about, Tandia Tope, Nana Sahib, lot of all this. And then she said, no women, no, there were no ladies or no women who participated in the freedom struggle. So the boys and girls started brainstorming. And suddenly she said, some children were, they are pointing out many names, but then she said a sentence, she said a word like, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी, बुंदेले हर बोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी. This is the sentence which I heard when I was a child of 5th standard or 6th standard. And immediately in in that age, which went into, then she started explaining, being a girl in her childhood, how she was molded and what are the learnings which she was given, which made, which came to be very, very contributory at the time of first war of independence, when India had the first war of mutiny in 1857. So immediately the sparkle was that every war, whether it is a girl or a boy, you have to fight your own war and you have to improve upon your competencies, and anything which is possible by the other person is possible from you. I think that was the learning unknowingly the teacher has given to me. And that was the value, or that was the, in an Indian way of life skill which he imparted to me, which came to be very useful at many juncture of my life when I became an administrator, when I had to fight my own war of, struggle in administration. I think I did not give up thinking that, when you, there is no, such demarcations. So whatever learnings or things you give it in a content to the class, it is not the volume of content, it is the way how you are imparting to the child to get the best outcome, so that it will be useful for his life exams. It is not that everyone is given the same paper as in what comes in the WhatsApp, the question paper may be same for your maths, English and all, but for the life exams you have different question papers to answer. So you have to develop from your learning. And today, when in the morning, I was so happy to listen to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, when he was addressing today morning in the National Education Policy, he was telling, first we have to learn to read and then read to learn. That's a competency which we have to develop. And in the classrooms, the thinking has to be encouraged. So teachers have to be very specific in finding out that what is when I have a content in my hand, how I have to put it across to the child to bring about the best outcome from the proficiency in learning. We talk about mathematical thinking, or that doesn't mean that it's a problem solving. It is the way of thinking, the logical thinking, the mathematical way of thinking. And even now, this competencies, when we talk about, can I ask, I have a simple question in my mind which comes to me. I'm a person who did my post-graduation in English and a post-graduation in economics. But in my everyday application, I use science, I use maths, I use different analysis. Even as a doctor also, I need my financial skills. I need to financially understand that what are all my how I can manage my money, how can I my investment. It is not that one subject is different from another. All subjects are interlinked. When we teach, we have to integrate. We have to to get the best outcome, we have to integrate everything, and we have to develop the child, and we have to make the child the brainstorm and create, suppose many of us talk about, I remember whenever you go for an interview and you ask the teachers of the primary, please tell us a story. Everybody says thirsty crow. I think the crow is, and yesterday or day before yesterday in the WhatsApp, I have seen that thirsty crow is opening even the tap now and drinks water because the old pot and the stones have gone. So it's gone. So that is the different. is it not that the crow was at that time, when in the thirsty crow story itself, the crow was very critically thinking. The crow has the problem solving skill. It had what you call it as the creative thinking, to bring the pebbles, put it there, and then critically it analyzed, it solved the problem. And emotionally the crow was very balanced, because it did not when it did not get water, it knew that how to get water and drink, and emotionally it was not broken down. So these are all, that story I have taken as an example for you all, people who are listening to me, to understand that we have to equip our children also to think with all these skills in life: critical, creative, curiosity, and then the ability to communicate things. And today, when when he was talking about, the Prime Minister was talking about, he was addressing, which those who have not heard him, is that the story of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He was telling, he has not learned English in his childhood days, but when he was traveling with his father one day back to Calcutta, on his way there were milestones written, that it is much how many kilometers to Calcutta, how many kilometers to reach. So he asked his father to read for him. So father said it's 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 3, now 15 kilometers left, or 16 kilometers, first 16 kilometers, then 15, then 14, 13, 12, like that. And now, so during that time itself, he learned that how to, this mathematics, and thinking of, that English also, because it was written in English. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that writings he learned. So it is, and by the time the journey is over. So this is that we always feel that, what is more important is, we are not stressing on that, but we are leaving away what is important for the child to take back after a particular session is over. In the session, we are more on to the content and covering that part. We have to understand that we have to learn, relearn, unlearn, and relearn things, and everything should be connected. Suppose when we talk about learning outcomes and the competency based learning, all the skill has to be combined in the classrooms itself to give a child the total outcome when he comes out of his learnings. This is why when the PISA assessment has taken place in us, we also were the participant of PISA assessment program, where the students assessment is done, we were at the second last country in the world. That is where, because our learning outcomes were not strong. It is not based on the competencies. It's not based on the set of skills and abilities and knowledge which we have to acquire in the due course of time. So and that is, after the learning process has been completed, the student has to demonstrate the outcome of learning, and the student has to, and what the classroom transactions, activities that will become the basis for this kind of different of outcome learning is the pedagogy of the teacher. And when you teach also, the teachers have to understand that you have to, in the due course of time, give assess on and assess directly, indirectly, through different multiple assessments, which is open for you. It's a formative way, and where the teacher's planning has gone wrong, where the outcome has not come according to what they have planned, you have to adopt another methodology and see that the child comes out wonderfully well. And at what level it should be, and what is the sum total of the learning which happens, that is called as competency. When you put all these things together, the curriculum, how the pedagogy, the assessment, and the testing, and that is all together, when you do it perfectly okay, it is competency based. And the new age of learning requires 5 E's, which I would like you to all to know, is that engaging, exploring, experience, express, and excel. That is very, very important. And in whatever happens in the classes, in the schools, when you're in your classrooms, you have to understand that our children need these 21st century skills, which is mostly focused on critical, creative, collaborative, curiosity, and communicative. Even when, for examples, I can give you a few of the examples for the teachers to understand. Suppose you take a student for a nature trip, or you take them to, you should take them, because they should smell the environment, they should smell the trees, they should smell the small birds, hear to the music of the birds, the singing, all these things they should experience. And when they come back, you have to ask them how many years of how many birds you have seen, what was its colors, what was observations, how it was different from other one, what different varieties of plants you have seen and how you see there the brainstorming happens. There they are getting strong to the nature. They develop an affinity to the nature. They understand what is the importance of environmental. So what and all you are incorporating in the same small topic of a simple visit and how the child comes out with different learnings and how his attitudes and values change. You have learned lot many subjects in your school days. I remember you might have learned even, remember a student asking the teacher, when you talk about excretion or the waste and all in the biology chapter, is vomiting can be in under which category? So it is sometimes you might have seen many of the teachers will say, what foolish question you are asking, but you should not. You should not, because it is not the way. It is like the vomiting is not the way. Like it's not excrete. It's like it is what is that when you teach biology and you make the child understand about the physiological changes and the biologically what is happening. I mean the morning what you the toilets what we do is that it's an excretion of and vomiting is totally different. It is not the way. It is the body are not able to digest. So it is not that. So the difference the child has to understand. And I still remember in my classes biology teacher when talking about the chapter of reproduction, the first 2-3 lines were taught and then the teacher said you read. Then all the discussion goes among the children, what is this? So this is, when you tell them, you have to involve them in the learning process and encourage them to think and encourage them to brainstorm, encourage them to experience some of the, whatever the learning outcomes they take. So learning happens from life experiences, and never at importance. I want all of you to understand that the role of the teacher in building the competency is very, very important. As you know that how much of technology has come in and how much of technology has creeped into, and as you know that aeroplane every year, every now and then it is being modernized, and you have finding different type of aircrafts coming in, but you need a pilot to drive that aeroplane, right? So however the technology will progress, however the role of the teacher as a person, this is my question to Azhar also, who was asking me, Ashik or someone who asked me the question before, the role of teacher is not the person. We are the people who have to take these children to land safely and to land up to the rise and land up safely, and we are the people who have to driving this plane of children. So it is teachers' importance is very, very important, and the competent attitude, skills and knowledge combines together and competency arises. So you students' learning has to be measured. The competency based education, the students' learning has to be measured, and then the time. Every child has a specific learning time. So you cannot be, fundamentally the faculty's role has to change when you have to come to the competency based education. And I have to tell to every teaching faculty, you can do it, but define competencies and develop the valid, reliable assessments. Don't give, always it should be very smart. I'm making it again clear for you. When you make a learning objective or when you write a learning objective, it should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be time bound, and it should be reliable and attainable. You cannot teach when you take a session on in your class during different methodologies and you talk about rocket, you cannot expect the child to make a rocket immediately and to show you. It's not like that. So whatever is attainable and whatever is, that is the goals which you have to set step by step, and every child at different level has to achieve some competencies. But don't expect everyone to come to your level at the same time. There are different levels. There is where we fail. We are not giving the time for every child. We always say that, okay, we have finished a chapter. Okay, next exam, summative assessment over. We have assessed, and at the end after 10th standard, you turn back and you ask the child how to calculate what you know about addition 25 plus 25. The child will have to take out the book, pen, everything, and then the child will end up writing wrong because the child is not thorough with the concept is been learned. So more of a professional and a practical approach, where first of all it should be application based, and it should be beyond mere accumulation of knowledge from textbooks. We have to go beyond that. The school should be beyond walls. I will say it should focus on, beyond walls. You have to. So please make the child imagine, make the child to develop curiosity, have the child to be independent, collaborative. And I would say collaborative skill is very important for 21st century. The child should be able to collaborate with others. It's a teamwork. It's how to collaborate. All that all these skills should come to in the competency based learning in your schools. And then most importantly, teach the students in the competency that they have to handle themselves than a life. Instead of teaching to test, they have to handle themselves. It is, to make the life beyond their textbooks. Traditional learning approach doesn't give much of that, so we have to give that, and core competencies have to be checked. So the teachers have to bring out the best competency based education. Your learning outcomes should be specific, smart. Your curriculum, pedagogy, your assessment also should learn to better reading. And don't think that a child doesn't understand is because the child doesn't understand because the child has a learning disability. No, it is the way you make the child, you teach the way the child wants to learn, not in your own ways. Most of us concentrate on that. That is not bringing out the competencies. So skill and what we have to learn is that the learner need to learn or know how to demonstrate the learning outcomes, and that is what mainly this competency based education, when planned in schools, when planned by teachers, when planned by educators, have to be concentrating on. It is not one factor, the total holistic development of the child, and the skills at different stages have to be achieved. And everything which you deal in your classes session wise, you should have a smart objectives written, and it should be very much matching. And never think remedial teaching is teaching again. It is finding to the suit of the child's needs and catering to the child according to the tailored cut what he needs. And I'm sure if you do that, our children will be more competent to come out in life. And skill based is the learning which we have to give. And there also I have one important thing to tell, that any skill which is taught in the school will be useful at one juncture or the other. Maybe you are not in that profession, but that skill will naturally help you to in your lifetime. So these are all things which a school should take it on. Teachers should think differently. And of course, I have heard a lot of talks in the national education policy. I will add up we as innovators and creators, and if it's a big space given to us in that policy to bring out. And today when the Prime Minister was addressing, he said teachers are the people who have to take this flagship and put the national education policy and India on the top of every country in the short while from now. So such a confidence have been put on us. So we have to move into the path of competency based, very learning outcome based learning. And we have to be, assessment should be done for learning, and it should not be like off learning. It should be off learning augmented with learning, assessment as learning, and assessment for learning. So it is assessment it is an opportunity to demonstrate the learning, to check the learning of the student, to find the learning gap, and then to build up that gap. And so to integrate knowledge, this assessment should take place to integrate knowledge, skills, and attitude. It is not otherwise. Please understand, putting a test for exam and assessing the child on the basis of just one summative assessment is not the right assessment. And to quote one thing, when I was so happy to see the national education policies, one important clause, that is the suggestion, 360-degree report card, where I was reminded of this talk which PM was speaking today morning. That is, all our life is centering around the mark sheets. Competencies and outcomes have gone bad. We are all centering around the mark sheets. For parents, it is mental prestige sheet, And for students, it is a mental pressure sheet. It has become. The mark sheets have become. So let's move away from that and go on to concentrate that every time concentrating on the mark sheet and saying that you are bad and you're good. It should be outcome based, competency based learning, which has to be encouraged. Let our children be innovative, creative, collaborative. Let our children succeed by all these skills acquired from us. And we come to a generation where they are happy to live, and let us leave a world for them where happiness is the index which counts more.